what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
And we are live. Greetings to our loyal WFYL listeners around the world. Welcome back to your Philadelphia live stream, only on the Freedom Station. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in once again, because you still have the right to hear and the right to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike G. As always, with me are Philly Chris, Russ the producer, and Liberty Lee. And you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters. And you can listen to our program every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So let's be heard. I want to remind our listeners that you can participate in the free and open exchange of thoughts and ideas throughout the entire week by visiting MikeGinthemorning.com. It's got all of our social media profiles listed. You can join in on the action. Tell us what you think about the program. Tell us what you want to hear next. Watch all of our videos and all of the madness. Philly Chris, what is it called?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
Sleepy Russ. Are you over there, Sleepy Russ?
Oh, no.
What's it called?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your barber, tell your Uncle Jerry, tell the dog catcher in your neighborhood to check out MikeGinthemorning.com. And with that, you know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Hit it, Russ.
Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
What do you think? You thought the audience couldn't handle the full audio twice in a row? Is that what you thought?
Well, no, I turned down the...
You didn't want them to overdose on excellence is what happened there, right?
Whatever you say, Mike.
You're becoming a Democrat. It's out of concern for the people, right? You know better than they do.
No, I don't.
Sabotaging the show over there.
I don't necessarily know better than anyone.
So we've got a very special guest on the program today, Dr. Val Finnell, Pennsylvania State Director of Gun Owners of America, joining us to talk a little bit about constitutional carry in Pennsylvania. Last week, I briefly told everybody, make sure you reach out to your representatives and tell them that you want to see a vote. You don't want to see this thing stalled. They can't be cowards and hide. Stand up. Let's find out who our friends are. Mm-hmm. Dr. Val, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, good. Always good to be here.
It's always a pleasure to have you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on with constitutional carry at the present moment?
Well, it's a sordid tale, as it always is in the Pennsylvania General Assembly. This bill was reported from committee, which means that the House Judiciary Committee got together, they voted on it. It passed largely on partisan lines, and it went to the floor. Now, there's an annual gun rights rally that happens, this time of the year, and it happened on June 7th. And so the last week of May, they reported it out committee, and then Monday morning, June 7th, the Republican legislators are standing on the Capitol steps telling Second Amendment rally supporters, we got it out of committee, and it's probably going to get voted on this week on the floor. And everyone's like, yeah, clapping, Well, 1 to 2 days later, House leadership refused to run it. They did not, which means they didn't bring the bill up for vote. So it was on second reading. And for people who don't know, there's 3 readings of bills. There's a first reading, which is just, okay, bill's out of committee. Second reading, that's when they consider amendments. And third reading is when they vote on it. So it went to second reading. But the House Majority Leader, Kerry Benninghoff, did not bring it up for a vote. And this was a surprise to us, a huge surprise.
That's kind of convenient for them, right? Don't have to put their name on anything.
Well, right, exactly. And so the bill sponsor, the bill number is House Bill 659, and the bill sponsor is Representative Aaron Bernstein out in Western PA in House District 10. And I met with Representative Bernstein. We discussed the whole thing, the strategy, and we figured it, and he figured it out, and we know what the problem is. And it's the same old story. Initially, the Southeast Pennsylvania Republicans, folks like Frank Ferry, Megan Schroeder, Shelby Labs, and Craig Williams, so the Papa Rhino and the 3 baby rhinos, really were putting pressure on behind the scenes to Benninghoff and say, we don't want to vote on this. Don't bring it up for a vote. But of course, publicly, they're going to say, we're behind it. We're going to support it.
The Second Amendment.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we went into a constituent engagement mode, which is our specialty at GOA, and we went into those districts and mailed those districts, and we had an ally in Middletown who got Frank Ferry on his Facebook page to actually reverse his position publicly. He came out and says, no, I support this bill. Yeah, it's okay. So now there really is no excuse whatsoever that they cannot run this bill. I mean, so we worked Southeast PA, and so it's really all falling on Kerry Benninghoff now.
All right. I had a sneaking suspicion, Dr. Val, because last week on the program, when I heard that we didn't get a vote, I came on and I said, you might want to call your local representatives if you live in the 5-county area. Let's just leave it like that.
Yes. Yeah, we, I like to take names and we hold them down. But that's where we are.
Put their picture on the wall.
And here's the thing: the reaction is always is what we get is predictable. They don't like getting the emails. They don't. And this is just generally speaking. I'm hearing things like, "You're hurting your cause." We're not going. It may not get voted on now. Stop. And really, when they tell you that, you're being effective because they want you to back off and they want you to go. But that was completely false, because in the last week, through my efforts or the efforts of GOA members in Pennsylvania, largely our members and supporters, we were able to add an additional 10 co-sponsors to this bill. Wow. While they were telling me I was hurting my cause, and then there's nobody who's going to be able to vote for it, and we're not going to be able to count the votes now. We added 10 additional co-sponsors, and we have a record number. It's probably close to 80 co-sponsors now in this bill.
How does that make any logical sense when they say, "Oh, well, you better knock it off, or you're hurting your cause"? So if you ask a politician who represents you to do what you want, to basically carry out the will of the people, then they're going to do the opposite in spite of to spite you. Is that the way? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, this is what they do. They try to put, there's no logic to it, but I mean, they're trying to put pressure on me to get me to back off, because they know that that we're the ones that are kind of letting people know what's going on behind the scenes, and they don't like angry voters, and so they have a lot of angry voters. And what made this worse was was the implicit promises that were made. And the other thing that happened is Representative Bernstein was thrown under the bus, and they tried to blame everything on him. It's like, he said some mean things in caucus. And I mean, it was like you're in high school. I mean, this is the kind of arguments that were being made. Well, he said some things in caucus that we didn't like, and I think he's hurting the bill. And I'm like, wait a second. This constitutional carry bill, we have 21 states now. Texas just signed constitutional carry into law. We have 21 states that have passed constitutional carry. And what are the merits of the bill? That's what matters. It doesn't matter what your personality squabbles are with people. We don't care. We want you to do the right thing. And that's the message I give, because they want to deflect and say it's something else. Why? Because they want to avoid going on record. Because if you go on record, get heat for that. So in the legislature, the greatest force that you always have to overcome is inertia. They never want to do anything. So I think we got them on the ropes. And the problem is not the members. I want to be clear about this. The problem is not the members now. The problem is not Republican members and a few Democrats who've signed on to this too. There are some. And the problem now, it's not the members, it's leadership. And it really falls on Kerry Benninghoff, because he is he's the House Majority Leader, so he sets the floor agenda and calling up things for a vote.
Dr. Val, it absolutely infuriates me. We'll get to the merits of this bill in here in just a minute, but it infuriates me to hear what you said. I've got to go back to it. That they said if you don't knock it off, if the people don't stop telling us what they want us to do, then we're going to punish you. Like
Yeah.
there's some kind of parents, we're going to put you in timeout. You do as we say. We're in charge and you're not. I
Right.
mean, they picked really the wrong group of people to say something like that to, didn't they?
Yes, exactly. So when they say that to us, this is what they get. Yeah, we don't really don't listen to that. And they read from a script, and the script goes like this. And I went through all these stages already. The first stage in the script is, Val, let me explain something to you. It's not how things work around here. So let me explain this. So it's really a problem with Representative Bernstein or something that, whatever it is, fill in the blank. When that doesn't work, then they turn up the notch and they start getting angry with you, and then they'll threaten you. And the threat is you're not going to get your bill passed, and in the extreme case, I'll vote against you.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh,
I'll
wow.
vote against you. Now I haven't heard that yet.
Will you now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
Do you like
Right.
having a job?
That's exactly right. So we're not. I mean, so they get angry, and our response is always really the same thing. It's this representative or senator. We want you to vote on the merits of this bill. You've heard from your constituents. This is what your constituents want. Just listen to what they say, right? And they play it, and it doesn't matter what state legislature you're in or in the Congress. They all read from the same script. Or is my favorite one, is if you threaten them or with like, we're going to primary you, or you may not win the next election. Hey, a Democrat could win, and you'll get something worse than us.
Oh, yeah. Worse than not
Oh,
bringing
yeah.
it up for a vote.
Right.
Oh, I'm shaking.
Right, exactly, and it's not funny. It's actually a serious thing, but it's like all of them read from the same script, and so we know
Maybe
exactly.
it's not funny, but it's ridiculous enough that you have to try not to laugh because
Right,
that's how ridiculous it is.
right, and it's hard just from a human perspective. I'm a human being like everybody else, and I'm in the Capitol. I have to talk to people, and human beings have they want to be liked, right? And so they turn on you immediately when you're not playing their game, and they expect you to play their game and settle for what they tell you is acceptable. And when you refuse to do it, then they start the threats and everything else. And as I always tell people in our grassroots activism classes that we teach, if you want a friend in politics, get a dog.
That's about the extent of it. For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So I'm glad to hear that people have responded and contacted their elected representatives and made the will of the people be known to those representatives. And I'm glad that some of these folks have come on board. They've had a sudden change of heart, right? You meant you wanted us to bring it up for a vote. Why didn't you say so? I didn't know that's what you were talking about.
Yeah,
we were just kidding.
We
Big
don't have a
misunderstanding here.
Yeah, I know we don't have a commitment yet, but as Senator Dirksen famously said, "When I feel the heat, I see the light."
There you go. That's a good way to put it. I want to get a little bit into the merits of this bill. I saw this very well written and thought out editorial that I want to bring to your attention. Okay, here is. I'm going to read it in full. It's only a page. The current move to pass a constitutional carry, unrestricted open or concealed gun carrying bill is ludicrous, especially in the light of the more than 260 mass shootings so far this year. This does not include the innumerable daily individual shootings. The NRA says the solution to gun violence is more guns. This is the same as saying the solution to all the heroin deaths is more heroin. The Second Amendment calls for a well-regulated militia. If you want to use military-grade weapons, i.e. AR-15s, AK-47s, I'm sorry, then join the Army where you can train with them properly. Any potentially dangerous tool requires training and sometimes licensing. To drive a car, we have to take test on the rules of the road, and then take a driving exam to show proficiency with the vehicle. To use a chainsaw on Appalachian Trail crew, You have to take a safety course where you learn to properly and safely operate it. Should a gun be any different? Shouldn't we learn what the norms of behavior with a gun should be? How to properly hold, operate, shoot, clean, and store a gun in a safe manner? There's no question mark, so sorry about the way I read that. Our cars are registered and we need licenses to drive them. Should firearms be any different? Shouldn't we take a class on grammar and punctuation? No, I didn't say that. I'm sorry.
Before you write,
Whoever wrote this should.
This would cut down on thefts and illegal guns on the street. I cannot imagine how much more dangerous it will be for police officers or for the general public if constitutional carry lets anyone carry a gun. How many more road rage incidents, suicides, domestic violence, accidental shootings, or barroom shootouts there will be if everyone is packing? The smallest perceived slight could turn deadly in an instant. The Wild West may be good on TV, but I am not sure that is the environment I want for my community. And that is how it concludes. Should we start at the beginning?
yeah, well, you can really.
I thought,
unpack
isn't
that,
all
can't you?
heroin illegal?
Is all heroin illegal? That is true. But it's also like saying it's a completely false comparison because
Right.
it would be like if heroin was the antidote for heroin, and the only way you could protect somebody from somebody else who had heroin would be to have your own heroin, right?
Right.
It's simply not comparable.
Oh, I've seen this
Yeah.
before.
None of it makes sense.
I've seen this before. So I forget what show it was, but somebody like took some sort of concoction that made them giant, and then the only way to protect the city, because they were like mashing everything, the only way to protect the city was to have somebody else drink a engianting potion, and like then they battle to the death. It's not a good thing.
Well, that would be more. If this knucklehead would have put that in his editorial, that would be more comparable.
The only way to
than
defeat a
heroin.
giant robot is with another giant robot, and who doesn't like a giant robot fight? That's not a good comparison.
Am I on the right track there with
Yes.
pointing that out, Dr. Val?
Yes, you are absolutely.
What about you served honorably in this country? Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Were you issued an AR-15 or an AK-47?
No. They're select fire weapons. You know, it would be an M4 or an M16. No, we don't use semi-automatic rifles in the military.
But they look kind of similar, right? So
They
you got to
look-
be
yeah.
careful when something looks kind of similar.
Right. Exactly. And as I
They're
brought
both
up
very
in my
scary.
ceasefire debate, they would be laughed at if you went into combat with an AR-15.
I would say so, right?
Yep.
No, nobody's walking into battle with those things.
Mm-mm.
And this editorial also presumes that the bad people who would be carrying guns if constitutional carry were passed are not going to right now because that would be against the law, right?
Oh no!
Yeah,
Well, of course.
And we heard all these same. If you remember back in the '90s when the shall issue movement, I mean,
Right.
so we're in the constitutional carry movement. It's completely analogous. The same arguments that we saw during the shall issue movement in the 1990s were like people were gonna at stoplights, they're gonna be shooting each other if anybody could get a gun. Never happened. Never panned out. And in fact, all the studies that have been done, particularly by John Lott, which have been really, really good studies. Murder rates drop, crime rates overall, violent crime rates drop in places where citizens have their constitutional rights to protect themselves and to carry concealed firearms. And so, and as if you said many times on this show, you have a constitutional right, and then the government takes it away from you, and then just sells it back to you in the form of a license.
That's exactly correct.
That's exactly what's happening here, and no criminal's going to go through a background check before they get their firearm and go out and try to commit a crime with it. It's just
You mean that the gang members aren't sitting at home on their couch with their MAGA hats on, waiting for constitutional carry to go
No,
through
they're
so they
not.
can illegally carry guns?
right. Like, this is crazy.
And they make it as if it wouldn't be illegal for persons who are prohibited to carry guns under constitutional carry. That it just constitutional carry nullifies all laws. There are
Right.
no
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
laws
they said
at
everybody
all.
in the article, right, Mike?
What's that?
the article said everybody, I think, when you read it,
Everybody.
right?
It's literally
Yeah.
everybody. As a matter of fact, it's going to be
Yeah.
required under constitutional carry. You're going to get a ticket. You have to have your gun and your mask everywhere you go from now on.
There you go. Perfect. Perfect.
That's great.
They're going to have a new gun vaccine. But
Yeah, there you
this
go.
is just more nonsense. And you talked about how there was the same kind of debate. I shouldn't even call it a debate, but the same kind of nonsense being spewed before shall issue.
Yes.
I mean, think about you just mentioned that you got 21 other states that already have permitless carry, constitutional
Right.
carry in this country.
Mhm.
And they say the same thing every time one of those states passed, right?
Right, and some of those states are actually the safest in the country. You know, you look at like Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. You know, they all have constitutional carry. Actually, constitutional carry used to be called Vermont carry way back. You know, and because Vermont was the first state, and it hasn't really been a problem. And I would never expect it to be a problem. And you know, just because you can carry a firearm with you doesn't mean it's going to take over your mind and cause you to commit a crime. It doesn't work that way. And it's just
Unlike heroin.
Unlike there are consequences when you inject it into yourself. Yes, it is. And guns are not pathogens. And they try to portray firearms like the increased number of firearms will lead to this, like guns are germs, right? And guns aren't germs. They're not a transmissible factor. They're inanimate objects.
And do you think that this also demonstrates a gross misunderstanding of the current license to carry scheme here in Pennsylvania? Because they're talking about how we need people to be forced to do training and proficiency
right
testing and everything like that. That's not what's going on here. You get 20 minutes and $20 at the courthouse.
That's
you're in
it.
and you're out.
And although there are bills in the legislature to add all that by our Southeast Pennsylvania Democrats to add training and mandatory insurance, you name it, they have all these bills. And but yeah, it's not in our current law.
But that's why gun owners oppose every single restriction that they propose, because they know that none of them are the end of the line.
Right.
And they will always take it further and further and further the minute they get an inch. And that's the fact of the matter. I don't think anybody who I've encountered in the enthusiast community is opposed to training, saying, no, don't do any training on your own. Of course,
Right.
you want to get training. You want to be proficient. You want to be safe. You don't want to shoot yourself or somebody else unintentionally. And when you do have to protect yourself, you want to make sure that you're able to do so to save your life and the life of a loved one.
Yep.
So of course you want to train and be safe and proficient. All we're saying is, maybe it shouldn't be mandated by the government. Maybe they shouldn't be in charge of who does what when. Because when they do get in charge, you end up like New Jersey. You end up like New York, where they simply make it impossible. Okay, now that we can do this for your safety, put these measures into place. It's that along with 9 million other things. Good luck.
Yes, exactly.
So have people mentioned those concerns to you about why they would think constitutional carry is a good thing and opposing these measures that are coming out of Southeast Pennsylvania?
From who? What party are you suggesting? Or asking?
The people of Gun Owners of America, are they really concerned that if something were to go through on the southeastern side, where they do get some kind of a training requirement or anything like that, that would only be the tip of the iceberg? Not to say that it would.
Absolutely. I think our members and supporters actually, they know that. I mean, they've seen what's happened in other states, and they have an incremental approach. It's dialectical movements. They come in and they ask for the whole pie, and then they back off. They only ask for 50%, and then the compromiser says, well, they're just going to go away. But then next session they come back and they start right where they left off, and they ask for more than they want to get, and then they compromise a little bit, and then the next time they pick it up again. So it's an incremental chipping away of your constitutional rights, and we're always losing. And that they portray, you don't ever want to compromise. You don't ever want to make it. Because what are you giving up?
Right.
What are the anti-gunners giving up? Nothing. They win no matter what. So instead of losing 100%, we lose 50 or 25%. The next time it's another 25 or 50%. We're not gaining anything from this.
And it's been that way for quite some time. I never understood that, how these people with a straight face on the other side could admonish people on the right saying, oh, no, you got to meet us in the middle. We got to work together. It's like, okay, when is it your turn to do that? Because I haven't seen you supporting anything in my interest in the last 100 years. Give me a break. It's nonsense.
Right.
And that's another thing that blows my mind is you've got these people, like we'll call them the Southeastern rhinos. I like the way you mentioned that. But folks like that who are catering to a group of people who are never going to vote for them anyhow, right?
Right.
The only reason they're doing this stuff is they've got some fantasy in their imagination that if they try to reach across the aisle, or I don't know what else they would call it, seem moderate maybe, that they're going to win over people on the other side, which is total nonsense. It's falling right into their trap. That's how guys like Romney and McCain were a bunch of losers for all these years, because that was exactly their plan. It's never worked.
The other term I like to use for them is trunkless pachyderms.
I'm going to start using that one.
Yeah, right.
Like that one.
Oh, that is great. So Dr. Val, what can people do if they want to keep the momentum going? Because it sounds like you have got a really good thing going here, and we appreciate all your efforts that you've put into this, even when you get bad news, like you hear that it didn't get up for a vote after all the hard work that you put in. I'd imagine that something like that has got to be frustrating. So thank you for not letting off the gas and instead
you can't,
giving
and we don't
both
have a
fingers and moving forward, right?
Right, that's right. And we don't have a commitment yet from the majority leader, so we need to keep up the pressure on him.
Okay. So do you have a specific place where our audience members can go to and reach out? Where do they got to do?
Right. If you want to see everything that's going on in Pennsylvania, go to our website. It's our GOA website for PA. It's pennsylvania.gunowners.org. And you can see all the alerts that we have there, not just for constitutional carry, but for all the other bills, the lawsuits we're involved in, everything else that we've been doing. That's the best way. Just pennsylvania.gunowners.org.
Are there any updates while I've got you? I don't want to keep you too long, but are there any updates as far as any of the lawsuits that are pending since we've spoken to you last?
Yes. So, and when we were suing the city of Philadelphia over their ban on homemade firearms, and they're trying to actually move the case to federal court. So they're saying, oh, you raised Second Amendment issues, and we're like, no, we didn't. You're saying we raised Second Amendment issues. We mentioned the Second Amendment in passing. Is that they're trying to move it to federal court. So we're responding to that now, saying no, it needs to be remanded or sent back to state court. So anything to obfuscate and delay, that's what they're going to do. And so that's the case. That's moving forward. And as you know, our attorney general is very much very vocal about homemade firearms, and wants to see them all banned nationally. So we went to ground zero in Philadelphia to challenge the illegal ordinance because the city keeps trying to violate the firearms preemption law with impunity.
They're already going to be banned, Dr. Val. Didn't you know that King Joe and his cronies are already putting all this stuff into place without any legislation whatsoever? Yeah,
we're responding to the notices of rulemaking on the national level. I mean, that's more on the federal side, but we've been sending out alerts on that, telling people to comment on the ATF. I mean, there's this whole thing where we're just going to ignore that all legislative powers are invested in a Congress and not in rulemaking by executive fiat. Imagine.
Really?
Right.
Where'd you learn that, Dr. Val?
I mean, I could read my Constitution. I mean, it's what it says.
The second grade.
and putting an avowed gun controller in as the director of the ATF, Chipman, is another issue.
Oh yeah.
Waco Dave and his advocacy for gun control and with Giffords. I mean,
could you imagine that though, if they tried to put a guy like you in the administration? Right. What would they say on the other side? They'd be like, no, this guy's some extremist.
Right, right. And but you know, Republicans never do that. I mean, it's Democrats that do that because they're never afraid to use their power, right?
Right.
They
Yeah.
Democrats will use their power. You go ahead and admire this about them.
That's
And
true.
Republicans are, you know what they're concerned about? Retaining their power, keeping their
Mm.
majority. And that's
Mm.
what drives all these decisions that we're seeing in Harrisburg. They live in fear of somehow they got to protect the weakest links in the party all the time. And then that's why nothing gets done and nothing moves. But as you have pointed out, Mike, it's a fallacious reasoning.
Yeah. They always got the Republicans backing up into the ropes, so to speak, right?
Yes. Right.
Yeah. And it's hard to gain any ground, like you mentioned, get
Mhm.
anywhere, have an offense, if that's the way you're playing the game, so to speak.
They love
Uh,
to they love to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
We've seen that once or twice, haven't we?
Right.
Yeah, it's just incredible what we are seeing at that federal level. I'm glad that to hear the nonsense that's going on. Mentioning the Second Amendment, that actually something very similar happened. They didn't try to remove the case to federal court, but when we sued the city of Harrisburg, it was strictly 6120 state law issues. That was it, and there was a calculated effort not to put in anything that raised a federal question and could end up in federal court.
Right.
And we get into court and their attorneys arguing like the Heller case and stuff like that. We're like, dude, what are you talking about? It's like, you're on a totally different planet. You're talking about a completely different issue here.
Mhm.
But it sounds like they're at it again.
Yes, indeed they are.
Oh, goodness. All right, Dr. Val. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for keeping up the good fight, both right here in Pennsylvania and these nightmares that we're seeing at the federal level,
Mhm.
because that's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. We appreciate you, and you've got an open invitation on this program. I mean that when I
Thank you.
say it.
I really appreciate that. Thanks. So I'm sure we'll be back on as the drama continues to unfold on constitutional carry and other bills in the legislature.
Absolutely. And do you have any parting words that you want to say to our listeners before we let you look?
Now, just keep up the pressure. Go to our website. Get signed up for our email list, and that's the best way. They need to hear from you. That's the bottom line. GOA, I don't do really that much. It's really our members and supporters that do all the work.
Well, thank you to the members as well. Get out there, join the organization if you have not already. Don't be a mustard-eating knucklehead. Get behind the cause. We'll talk to you soon, Dr. Val.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So we've got a lot more to discuss this evening. Philly Chris, did you ever get that video up and running?
It looks like it's still sending, unfortunately,
It's
so I don't
still
know if it's going
sending.
to work tonight. Yeah.
That's great. Russ, did you have a video that you wanted to play?
Yeah, but I kind of needed Philly Chris to be here while we play it. It's kind of in his wheelhouse.
Okay.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know, Chris. You kind of picked the
At
worst.
the North Pole with you, you mean, or just on
Well,
Skype?
he'll be able
No,
to
it's-
he'll be able to hear the audio. That's not enough.
I guess it's enough. Let me adjust some things here.
All right, make some adjustments.
Make it possible.
Now, Philly Chris,
You didn't
sent-
receive those videos, did you?
You what?
What's that, Mike? I said you didn't. You maybe look in your email to see if you received them, but it looks like it's still sending on my end. So.
I received one of them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh,
you received a video.
maybe.
Why don't we go ahead and play that? Let me know when that's queued up. I do have a couple of other things gun
Why
related
don't we
that I
play
would
it?
like
Well,
to
because
discuss
I don't have it prepared.
later on in the program.
Okay.
I
Chris,
have an
you need to
article
send these
here.
things like sooner.
Yeah, Mike and I just happened to talk right before the show, and was
They
trying to
call
see
him
if it
Grumpy
hadn't-
Russ, folks. Grumpy Russ.
You know what? I have a good reason to be grumpy. It's because you guys are last minute Mike.
This
We
portion
got
of the
Philly Chris,
program,
Grumpy Russ, and last minute Mike.
Grumpy Russ's Corner is brought to you by Preparation H, our sponsors over at Preparation H.
Oh, we got a new sponsor on the show, Preparation
We have
H,
new
brought to you in part
sponsors
by
over
Grumpy Russ.
Preparation H to sponsor Grumpy Russ's Corner
Oh my
over
goodness.
here.
Speaking of preparation, you guys need to work on that.
You ever see the Snickers
like Mike
commercials
is in
where
court
somebody's
all the
grumpy?
time.
They're like, "You're cranky when you're hungry," and they give them the Snickers commercial. They give them the Snickers.
Oh
and
yeah, right.
Yes,
right.
the
Back in
answer
Rome.
to everyone's madness is eat more.
Yeah.
That'll end well.
Mhm.
Well, in the Russ commercial, he's all grumpy, yelling at me and Philly Chris, and then we're like, "Russ, you always get cranky when you don't use your Preparation H," and then we hand it over to him. And he turns into a nice guy. That's all it takes.
You guys are
They have that at the
ridiculous.
North Pole, Russ. The Preparation H is it okay to use up there? Or is it too cold?
Guys, shut up
Yells
about
work on it
Preparation
all day,
H.
right?
Maybe need some icy hot.
Elf flavor. Unfortunately, yeah, they got in trouble using too much elf flavor over at Preparation H.
That's what happened.
I'm gonna get sued by them, right?
Yeah, something like that, probably.
Leave it to some liberal knuckleheads. No, Preparation H doesn't use elves to make their product.
You're wrong.
They're not called elves, they're little
Fact check, we
people.
looked
Looking stuff
into
up
it.
over there.
Fact check,
On
we
the
looked
Freedom
into
Station.
it. It's not made at the North Pole by elves.
Right.
Okay. So we do have a video over here. You have a video that's
Well-
up and running, ready to go, Russ?
I have a video. It's not the one that Chris sent.
Okay. Will he be able to hear the content?
Yeah. Let me make sure the volume's actually on. All right. Let's see. Play button. Please play.
Los Angeles, California, October 2019. Ancient astronaut theorist Giorgio Tsoukalos
Hey, Linda.
is meeting up with investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe at a secure storage facility.
Let's do it.
For more than 2 decades, Linda has been in possession of highly unusual metal fragments given to her by someone who claims they were extracted from an extraterrestrial craft.
Man, this is some door. Okay.
Well, over the years, I've learned that this is really pretty valuable.
Right.
And that I better keep it in something like a safety deposit box.
Right.
In recent months, the United States Army has taken an interest in doing its own examination of these materials. Linda is eager to show Giorgio just what it is that has caught the Army's attention.
Here is where the magic bismuth magnesium
There
zinc
it is,
resides.
inside the magic
Yeah.
box.
Here, I'll take it over here and show it to you. I have found, since having this in 1996 and evolving with research, that it has become now so valuable.
What am I looking at, Linda? What is this?
Here is, see all these layers?
Yeah.
When you go to a scanning electron microscope and you see that the black side, it's pure bismuth and it's 1 to 4 microns, which is about half the size of a blood cell. And then it's alternating just like a torte cake.
Yeah.
And the top silver, that's the magnesium zinc alloy.
Okay.
So layer by layer by layer in microns.
It's almost as if it's reflective, too.
Yes, and when you get it in the sun, it looks like a snowfield, and that's the magnesium zinc.
In addition to this layered material, Linda also has an unusual piece of aluminum.
As I understand from a physicist, it is this pure aluminum, 99.5% pure aluminum.
As far as I know, we can't produce 99. I mean, this is incredibly pure. So where were these pieces allegedly found?
These came out of White Sands in New Mexico outside of Roswell.
Is there a connection to Roswell with this piece?
In July of
Is that it, Russ?
What happened?
Yeah, that's it. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck here
Okay.
watching the whole DVD.
Okay. It's just starting to get interesting.
I mean, if
That's
you want, we
interesting.
can convert this into a watch party.
A watch party.
There we
Maybe
go.
we'll have to do
Yeah.
that. Why don't our listeners let us know if you'd be interested in doing that? We'll do a watch party with some documentary. You know, I was watching something with Philly Chris over the weekend. We got together for a QR code sticker party to direct our listeners to the new Rumble page.
Right.
And we were watching this video of Bob Grant having a debate with some artists about whether or not the government should be funding art. And it's the same kind of arguments you'd hear today between Republicans and Democrats. I suggested we do some kind of a watch party with that. Maybe we'll also do it with this. What is the documentary called, Russ?
So this is from the DVD that I bought from Walmart for like $10. This is called Ancient Aliens. This is from season
Ancient
13. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe
And,
we'll do something like that. Philly Chris, any thoughts on what we just heard?
Yeah, I've actually seen some reports by her before. She's been involved in the UFO community for quite some time, and it's interesting because I've heard about some, alleged components or materials that people claim are extraterrestrial. I haven't seen that particular episode, Russ. So I'll have to look into it a little bit further. But it sounds like some advanced, metallurgy and other materials that have come into the possession of certain people who are starting to get analyzed. So we'll see where this goes. But that's an interesting clip you played, Russ, because supposedly there's some more material that's going to be released at some point, is my understanding, to show that some of this stuff is so highly advanced that it's either part of a dark program that maybe we have or another government has, or potentially extraterrestrial at this point. I don't think that's been proven, but it's interesting nonetheless, especially if it is from Roswell, which would have been quite some time ago, to see such advanced materials. So,
Well,
and also right in line with some of the things that Bob Lazar has talked about. It actually sounds like it could be part of the component of the antimatter reactor, possibly, because he talked about specific metals being layered and cross-sectioned and nanotechnology, which is what it sounds like she was alluding to there. But I'd have to listen to the rest of the clip. So that's pretty interesting. Thanks.
But is there anybody suggesting, Chris, that all this is technology that is known by our government or perhaps some foreign governments, and that with all these UFO videos being released, our government knows exactly what they are, or they've got a pretty good idea, and
Right.
This is part of a messaging campaign, so to speak, that if there is some kind of alien invasion of some sort, it would encourage globalization, because the
Right.
narrative will become, and I'm just asking if anybody's suggesting this. I'm not saying it's 100% true. YouTube's going to kick me out. They're like, no, there's no evidence that this is a conspiracy. But wouldn't that, couldn't you suggest that, or is anybody suggesting that if there were some kind of alien invasion of some sort, or supposed alien invasion, that would encourage globalization and a single
Sure.
world government? Because the idea would be, hey, any one of us on our own can't survive this. We just will be we'll be wiped away, and none of us will survive. But if we all stick together, we might have a fighting chance.
We're in this together.
We
We're gonna
all
build back
unite
better, Mike.
under one world government who has all the
Right.
control and the power, and we got no power.
Yeah, the government's coming to save us, apparently.
Your
and
only choice
that's-
is to unite under one world government. Otherwise, nobody will be safe. So if you want to be
Right.
safe,
I don't think you're far off from that, Mike, because if you remember in the beginning of the plague pandemic, there were signs all over the place. We're all in this together.
we're
Or
all
maybe
Right.
they were
Correct.
referencing
well,
some
it's
kind
the
of
same
high
sort of
school
message, right?
musical.
Yeah, the propaganda machine is
Yeah.
up and running pretty good there.
So,
and,
we're all in
you know,
this
it's interesting.
together.
I've been doing some more
And don't say,
research
Russ,
show
don't
related.
say I'm not far off, because all I was doing was asking Chris a question as to whether anybody has suggested this. That's all. I'm asking, is there anybody out there saying this sort of thing? Not Mike G, right? Not Mike G.
Suggestions are very dangerous things.
Yeah, no free thought here. No free thought. No, it's pretty compelling. That's pretty interesting. I've been watching the narrative on last week's show. We played that clip from CNN, and it's interesting the stance they're taking. And Obama recently came out regarding the UFO topic and even hinted that if it is shown or there's evidence to show that there are extraterrestrials and they have these craft, then we need to build up the military, which is interesting because he pretty much decimated it during his administration. So, we've been warned about the military-industrial complex, and if Dr. Greer and the people who have come out under him are right, in what they're saying, then we really need to watch for that because, who knows what they would do with that type of information released. And like you're saying, Mike, they would try to get everybody to come together and you spend more money on the military-industrial complex to protect us when, in fact, they could be using it really to create some, more control and manipulation over humanity, basically. And I think that's what we're looking at here as this continues to escalate and roll out. And there's more and more sightings and videos available online now, even in just the past few weeks. So, yeah, I think it's pretty important to keep an eye on it, see where it goes.
Did I hear you mention that Obama suggested that there would be a new religion as well?
That's correct, yes. He also said that, there would be new religions regarding that if we found out we were not the only intelligent, life forms out there, and if we were interacting with them. And, going back to some shows earlier in the year, we talked about that Israeli defense minister who came out on his deathbed and said there's even that treaty with these extraterrestrials. So who knows? What's propaganda? What's the truth? Certainly we don't have enough information.
I'm not sure I understand where that comes from, though, that if there are extraterrestrials, then there has to be a new religion?
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre for him to suggest that. I'm not really sure what that religion would be, but maybe belief systems would change. And interesting, I've looked at some surveys, and I think 30 to 40% of the U.S. population believes that we're not alone, and believes in the UFOs, and believes in, the potential for extraterrestrials even being here and visiting us. And there is some compelling evidence to support that. So, but how is that going to be used? And one of the things I'm thinking is if they are here, they're not I can't imagine they're a threat, because why would they wait for us to build up our military? If they have this technology and they wanted to do harm or take over the earth or whatever, they could do that. They could have done it already, and there's not evidence to show that that's something they've been doing. And, they could easily shut our systems down. These devices, these craft have been reported to have shut down our nuclear facilities, nuclear weapons capabilities. So, if they wanted to turn the lights out and take us over and disrupt, peaceful times here on Earth, they could have done that already, I think. So that's an interesting thing to think about as well, in my opinion.
This guy at the cigar shop who suggested that they've been here for a long time and they just look like you and I.
Yeah, there's
maybe it's not so much like me, but they look like you. No.
Right.
No, they look like Zuckerberg.
They look like Philly Chris. Russ is definitely an alien. Russ, are you an alien?
That's right. That's
no.
right.
Although, guys, here's my theory. Okay, it's a working theory. I'm not done working out the kinks of it. But perhaps some of those on the left in leadership are, I guess, camouflaged as human people, and
lizard people.
Lizard people. Perhaps they're trying to decimate the human race by promoting the LGBT stuff, promoting taking our guns away so we can't defend ourselves, and killing our babies. And perhaps they're already enacting their way of decimating everybody by just encouraging everybody. Maybe this race is thousands of years old, and they saw that these are sinful people, and that they're also idiots. And so
well, you're making a lot of sense, Russ.
Well, I mean, you look at World War II and the people who followed Mr. Mustache Man that you're not allowed to say on the internet.
Sure.
You look at that and they're like, wow, these morons will follow anybody. And so that
Yeah,
they,
well,
you know,
we've seen
they
a lot of that
they
over the past year, haven't we?
The
Yeah.
Democrats would be like, yeah, like Trump. Trump
Yeah.
is the mustache man.
Right.
Trump
exactly.
doesn't
Of
have a
course he is.
mustache.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, think about the points that you're making, Russ.
Yeah.
What is pushed, right? The procreation limited by what you're mentioning. Self-preservation and protecting yourself limited. Although they claim that it's for the purposes of saving lives, right? They always claim gun control needs to happen so we can save
Yes,
lives.
the authoritarians with good intentions, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
You
of
know,
course.
the highway
What
to
about
hell.
fit
The
at
highway
any
to
size?
hell is
Have you-
paved with good intentions.
Do we have any comments on fit at any size? Have you heard about this?
What is it?
What is that, Mike?
It's this movement that basically, you don't have to be in shape in order to be healthy.
Oh,
yeah, round is a
okay,
shape.
sure.
Yeah, they're trying to kill us with obesity too, I'm sure.
I tried that for a number of years, actually, for decades. It really didn't work out
Nobody's
too well.
allowed to feel bad about themselves. We're gonna outlaw shame because
Right.
that's a good thing for some reason. I don't know.
But shouldn't you be ashamed of certain things? Isn't shame a good thing? Like, oh, no, don't do that. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Democrats have
Yeah,
no shame.
it's a good check, check measurement. Yeah.
I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z because I will be ashamed. Maybe sometimes it's good to
Right.
not do certain things.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it makes sense.
What do I know?
To me, yeah.
For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. Let's get back into the Second Amendment stuff. I want to talk about this other little piece that I found on the internet. It's called "The Second Amendment is a Racist Document." On a recent episode of Democracy Now!, Professor Carol Anderson discussed her book, The Second, Race and Guns in a Fatally Unequal America. I will read that book, by the way, just so you know. I like torturing myself.
Okay, thanks for taking one for the team, Mike.
Can you read
That
it out loud for
describes
us,
how
Mike?
the second... Yeah, I like to be in pain. It lets me know I'm alive, right?
Right, that's right. You know you're alive when you're in pain. Yeah.
Wait, you're alive?
I like killing my brain cells every so often. Yeah, some people choose to get blackout drunk to kill brain cells. I read liberal literature.
Yeah, that's always a good use of your time, I would imagine.
The book describes how the Second Amendment was written to empower local militia groups to put down slave revolts and protect plantation owners. She writes the Second Amendment is rooted in fear of black people to deny them their rights, to keep them from tasting liberty. In light of that, those with their Tarzan yells who beat their chests about the Second Amendment are most likely alt-right white supremacist scaredy cats who are terrified of people of color, especially blacks. Recently, attorney Alexandria Kincaid said, "We are committed to continuing to challenge the erosion of Second Amendment rights in Idaho. Since the Second Amendment was created to suppress blacks, especially freed slaves, it should be eroded. I have to ask our local Second Amendment advocates," and she lists a bunch of people, "do you condemn the January 6th riot and mob attack
Why
of our
does it
nation's
always go
capital?"
back to January 6th?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with it. "Don't be afraid. Speak up and go on the record about your position on the January 6th insurrection. Remember, intelligence is a gift and ignorance is a choice. It's sad that so many on the right prefer the latter." Okay. So where do we start on this?
I have a question for this
Knuckleheadery.
lady.
It's pure mustard-eating knuckleheadery, right?
Well, wait, hang
Yeah,
on.
send
I
them
have a
some
question.
mustard, Mike.
What
Isn't it
about
ironic that the whole piece is about the Second Amendment and how bad it is and how anybody who believes in the Second Amendment is most likely an alt-right white supremacist scaredy cat who's terrified of people of color? Yet it concludes by talking about January 6th being a violent insurrection that just so happened to have no firearms involved whatsoever, except when the government killed that one gal, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Why do they fail to mention that? Why are they lumping in people who are advocates of the Second Amendment or who believe in our Second Amendment, and they just go directly? it's a complete non sequitur, wouldn't you say?
Does that mean Maj Touré is a white supremacist too? Then?
Absolutely. I actually sent this over to him.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I love the response that I got. I'm trying to get him on the program to talk more about it.
Yeah, that would be great.
The racist roots of gun control. Now, we could go through this entire thing and ding, ding, ding every single time they say something that's totally inaccurate. But yeah, I'm sure Maj and Tony Simon and every other African American who's a proponent and advocate of the Second Amendment, Eddie Moy, right? These are all
Right, there you go.
bunch of all right white supremacists. But even aside from that, the fact that this person brings it up in this context shows a complete and utter misunderstanding of the Second Amendment and of the importance of the Second Amendment to people in the minority community. Because it would seem that their solution to the Second Amendment being a racist document would be to impose more oppressive gun control measures that would put more minorities in prison for BS possessory offenses, right? Nonsense possessory
point. Right.
offenses. All the while taking away the ability of any minority to protect themselves and their loved one. That'll set them straight, right? It would be
Exactly.
far less racist to put all of them in jail for possessory offenses, as well as eliminate their ability to protect themselves and their loved ones because they care, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of
They care
sense,
so
right?
much about the African American community that we want to throw more young African American men in jail for possessory offenses who didn't harm anybody and make sure that nobody can protect themselves and their loved ones. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, it's basically just a bunch of nonsense, isn't it? And we're seeing a lot of escalation in crime in the communities that just so happen to have more minorities. So, if there was ever a time for someone like Maj to be out in the community educating folks about their Second Amendment right to legally carry and defend themselves, it would be now. So, yeah, it just seems like their narrative is, trying to take our God-given rights away, of course.
I feel like I blew it because I should have spoken about this with Dr. Val because it ties into constitutional carry in a sense. When you look
Right.
at the license to carry system that's in place right now, you got your 20 minutes, $20. I know some counties try to make it more difficult by making you wait longer and stuff like that, or trying to abuse the character and reputation clause.
Sure.
But if you do not go through that process and you're caught with a handgun in your vehicle outside of one of the 16 exceptions, do you know what happens?
It's a misdemeanor of the first degree, right?
Absolutely. So up to 5
Okay.
years in state prison, you lose your gun rights for life throughout the United States because under federal law, conviction of any misdemeanor with a max sentence of over 2 years prohibits you from possessing firearms for life throughout the United States. So if you are convicted of that misdemeanor of the first degree, then you just lost your gun rights for life. For all intents and purposes, you're a felon in the eyes of the federal government. And many other states will look at a misdemeanor of the first degree like a felony. Jersey certainly does because of the max possible sentence. And so this is something that follows somebody around for life because they failed to get that little tiny piece of paper, even if they were otherwise eligible. So that it's only an M1 if you're otherwise eligible. If you're not otherwise eligible or it's used during the commission of a crime, then it's a felony. So it's a different grading. But for someone who did nothing more than fail to get that piece of paper, meaning they would have, had they spent that 20 minutes, they would have been fine because they've got nothing that prohibits them. They didn't do anything else wrong with the firearm. They just merely had it in their vehicle. And that's a misdemeanor of the first degree. And that's why I think constitutional carry is important to get passed in Pennsylvania, because you'll stop a lot of these accidental criminal situations where people's lives are absolutely ruined.
Sure.
And you'd think that some of these more rural counties would recognize that and see these cases and say, wow, this is actually pretty ridiculous when you think about it. A lot of them aren't.
Right.
They always run on this tough on crime. Oh, we're tough on crime. Yeah, you're really cleaning up the streets out there, right? Some guy had
Oh, yeah.
an unloaded handgun in his trunk and told the law enforcement officer about it when he got pulled over because he didn't realize he was committing a crime. Yeah, you really cleaned up the streets from that guy, right?
Yeah, he saved. a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
folks with
total
that
scum
one,
of the
yeah.
earth guy.
A total scum of the
Yeah.
earth guy. I always
Yeah,
hate
right.
that because the people who volunteer the information to the police because they don't know any better and they don't
Sure.
realize that they're doing something wrong, they get railroaded. They get railroaded. It's horrible. And they're the same
what is it
people
you
where if
say?
I had that
You're,
conversation with them ahead of time, will usually tell
Right.
me, no, I'm not going to listen to you and invoke my rights to silence an attorney or refuse consent to searches or anything like that. The same kinds of people who they're just very, very naive. That's what it comes down to, right?
That's right. Yeah, and as you always say, your U.S. Law Shield seminars, lawyer up and shut up, right?
Lawyer up and shut up. I had somebody at a
Yeah.
seminar the other night say, "Oh, Mike, it really should be the other way around. It should be shut up and lawyer up." I said, "That is ridiculous." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because if you shut up first, I'm not going to be able to hear you on the phone when you call me. You call me,
Right,
you
right.
tell me to show
Right.
up, and then you shut up.
Exactly.
You invoke your rights,
Exactly.
and then you shut up. Shut up has to go at the end. It can't go at the beginning."
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that way. It doesn't work that way. The cops are going to be looking at you and keep questioning you, I'm sure.
Right. Lawyer up and shut up. Trust me, I'm
Lawyer
right.
up and shut
Trust me, I'm a lawyer.
up.
I had a law school professor, really sharp guy. I would love to get him on this program. I should probably try to reach out again. When we first got on the air, within the first couple of months, I called him at his office and told him, "Hey, got a new program on Fox News Radio. Would love to get you on the show." And never heard back from him, unfortunately. But he would be an excellent guest, wildly entertaining guy, incredibly bright. And he was talking about being wrong one time, and he said, I thought I was wrong once. Then I realized I made a mistake."
Sounds like the kind of guest we want to have on, brother.
He was almost wrong once. He was the only
Right,
time
right,
he was the only time he was ever wrong. It was about him being wrong.
I'm glad he set the record straight.
Yeah, it was nice of him. Very, very kind of him.
Very
Yes.
nice of him, yeah.
He also would say in class that he was the only registered Republican on staff at the law school, and that all the rest of the faculty looked at him like he was the crazy uncle at Thanksgiving. Think about
That's
that,
the
though.
gravy.
Law school in Oklahoma, you had one registered Republican
That's kind of crazy, yeah.
out of
What's that all
everybody.
about?
I mean, does not
Right.
make you wonder at all about whether there's any kind of bias in the education?
Yeah, exactly, which we've seen quite a bit of, yes.
Far too many professors in law school are not practicing attorneys and have not been for many years, if ever. And so when you start to get into the practice of law and you're dealing with cases and you go back to school because doing it simultaneously and you have a professor telling you, well, this is how it works. It's like, that is not how it works. Maybe that's the way it's supposed to work. Maybe that's the way it works in the
Right.
book. But in real life, here are the practical considerations. Anyway, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole about law school. Glad we read that Second Amendment is a racist document. Russ, you got any thoughts on that? You evil
Yeah.
alt-right white supremacist scaredy cat, you.
Oh man. Well, I mean, if the Second Amendment is for alt-right scaredy cats that blah 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 racism, what about the black people who want to own a gun?
Right, right.
You know,
Right.
what about them? Are they also white supremacy? That seems a bit counterintuitive. It could, there's a bit of a disconnection there.
Yeah. But that's also,
Agreed.
it shows a prejudice on their part, doesn't it? Like, oh.
No, they could never be
no
prejudiced.
African Americans would ever want to own guns, right? Black people don't own,
Right.
they don't want to legally own guns. Some
Yeah, of course not.
skinny white person sits behind a keyboard and tells us what all black people want, right? Well,
That's right.
thank
Yeah, they
you.
know best.
Thanks,
Yep,
Mom.
exactly.
Yeah, thanks
you
for
very much.
speaking up for all the black people. I'm sure they all
Yeah.
have the same opinion.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
just so I don't know. it seems very insulting that they come out and say things like that. It's the audacity on these people. What is
Right.
wrong with them? Yeah, but they're out there. They're certainly out there. For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. I did find some additional news in the way of the Second Amendment, gun news, that sort of thing. Wanted to pull it up here. I don't know if either of you heard, but the McCloskey case has been resolved.
Oh no, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about
what
it.
happened?
Please explain for those who are blissfully not aware of that.
Okay, well, you'll recognize when maybe you don't recognize the name, but McCloskeys are the couple out of St. Louis who, during that peaceful protest where the gate to the community was broken down and a bunch of people walked into the private community, they came on out armed. The wife was on the front lawn with a handgun, and the husband was in a pink polo shirt on the steps with a modern sporting rifle. Do you remember seeing that, Russ?
You know what? I remember hearing about it. You're right. I didn't recognize the name.
Yeah.
That's an AR, by the way, Russ.
Well, here's the thing, and I've spoken about this on television. I've spoken about it on this program. I've spoken about it at countless seminars. And when talking about this case, I said there's a difference between inadvisable and illegal. And if you learn anything from this case, you should learn that these people clearly did not have a plan as to what to do were they in trouble in some kind of an incident where they would be in danger, right? Because
Right.
the wife goes down on the front lawn with this little handgun. We later find out that it was an inoperable handgun that
Yeah,
was
that's
used
right.
as a prop in court, which that's usually a bad idea, right? You start waving
Yeah.
around an inoperable handgun at somebody, you get shot in the face. You don't have much recourse there, so don't do that.
Sure.
And
Bad idea.
husband stands there with his rifle on the front steps. You know if you go to any personal protection inside the home course, nobody is going to teach you to do what they did. Period. You're not going to find it. Didn't have a plan. They were doing the fire drill while the house was burning down. And the importance you should learn from this is to have a plan. Make sure you do have a plan. Now, that being said, they were charged with multiple offenses. One of them required the firearm to be operable, readily capable of lethal use, and ultimately trying
Didn't the
to...
authorities tinker with it to make it operable too? Or
That's what did come out, right? There were reports that in order for it to meet the elements of the crime, the prosecutors ordered the law enforcement officers to render it operable. That's what had been reported about
Right.
it.
What was not operable about it? Like, I don't know if you know.
I don't know. I know that it was altered in such a way that it couldn't function because it was used as a prop gun in a trial. And,
Oh, okay.
Usually not allowed to bring guns into the courthouse.
I
So
see.
that's
Right. Yeah.
that's why they would do that. It would make sense.
Okay.
But something happened that was released that ultimately rendered operable. Now, today we have news that they pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. Patricia pleaded guilty to second-degree harassment, which is a Class A misdemeanor. And Mark
I'm surprised
McCloskey,
they would plead guilty to anything. I mean, they were on their own property. That
Mark
seems,
McCloskey pleaded
bizarre.
guilty to a count of fourth-degree assault, which was filed in court on Thursday as a Class C misdemeanor.
Did he shoot
See, this is what
anybody?
happens.
He was originally charged with the unlawful use of a weapon and tampering with physical evidence.
Bizarre.
So,
We're living in a bizarro land.
it would seem, now I'm not entirely familiar with Missouri law, I'd have to confirm this, but it would seem that they will not be prohibited from possessing firearms under federal law as long as these misdemeanors are not punishable by greater than 2 years. Then they will not be permanently prohibited. You know what's interesting though? The governor said that he would pardon them if they were convicted. I wonder if they pleaded guilty just to speed the process up. And he's
Oh,
gonna
okay.
Yeah.
That's
any-
interesting. Yeah,
That's
maybe
what I
that
was
would make
thinking.
more sense. Yeah.
Maybe.
And
And
he's running for office.
Philly Chris, I want to make clear, Philly Chris, just because you're on your own property, that's not the end of the story there. I mean, if somebody's walking their dog
Sure.
and you come out and you're on your own property, you point a gun at them, you're going to jail. That's not.
What if the dog is illegally pooping on your lawn?
I'd say that's at a disproportionate level of force. You might.
Right.
You are allowed to use a level of force to protect your property. Deadly force not being one of them.
Okay,
Gotta
so
be
instead of a
necessary
gun,
for
make
force.
sure you have a hockey stick.
Hmm.
No, that's deadly too, probably.
Everything's
Yeah.
deadly.
Is there anything to be
Just use
said
your-
about after you are charged with this kind of a crime, going on every news station ever and telling your story and being cross-examined by liberal hosts like
Yeah,
Piers
that's
Morgan, Pierce Morgan and
Yeah.
Chris
Piers Morgan?
Cuomo for 20, 30 minutes apiece? I mean,
right. Yeah, it
anything
seems
to
a
be
bit
said
odd.
about
I
maybe
remember you
that's not the
mentioning that
best thing for your
before, yeah.
case? I don't know.
I think you said on a prior show you wouldn't, if he was your client, you wouldn't have had him do that. I believe you mentioned something along those lines.
Wouldn't have had him do that.
Right,
Not
right,
even
right.
close. I
Yeah,
don't want everybody
doesn't
to
make a
forget
lot of
about it.
sense.
I don't want everybody to forget this guy existed. You are not saying a word that can be used against you, right?
Yeah.
Not
Lawyer up
giving
and shut up.
the information. It only takes one stupid thing to come out of your mouth. You could be on TV for hours and hours and have 99% great things. That one stupid thing that comes out of your mouth is going to be held against you. So you know what you do? You
Okay.
shut up. You shut up. That's it. That's the end
Lawyer
of
up
that.
and shut up.
There's a quote from Abraham Lincoln, I believe, that goes something like, "Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt."
Yeah, that's right. Mhm.
Yeah. Now, say
So I have a question for
they asked
Chris.
for the guns to be destroyed, rendered ineffective, and then given to a charity for auction as historic artifacts. The judge denied their request, so I don't know. Both of the weapons pictured in the viral videos were ordered to be turned over to the state and destroyed. Okay, so they wanted them to give them to charity, and
Hmm.
the judge said no, they're going to be destroyed. So they lose the guns themselves.
Interesting. Hmm.
Are they not going to be compensated for the cost of those guns?
Can't imagine.
No.
They'll probably charge them to destroy them,
Well, there were fines that are associated. Mark has to pay a $750 fine. Patricia was fined $2,000 in order to pay
Jeez.
$10 to the Crime Victims Fund.
Wow.
Wait,
I mean, these people are
Okay.
multi-millionaires, from what I understand, big-time personal injury lawyers,
oh, wow.
plaintiff-oriented lawyers out in Missouri. I mean, you saw the house that they were living in the community, right?
Yeah, it's a
That's
beautiful
not cheap.
house, yeah.
So.
Right. It's almost as nice as Russ's place up on the North Pole.
I
Oh, my
know.
goodness.
When we all can't get there, right? You can't hold it
That's right.
against them that their place isn't as nice as the North Pole.
Right, that's right.
This is $750 fine and no jail time. I'm trying to see if I can determine what the max possible sentence on these types of offenses are over in Missouri.
If you're pardoned, do you still have to pay the fines and all that?
So typically, when I've been involved in cases, the pardons are issued after the fines are already paid. And as a matter of fact, when you go in front of the Board of Pardons here in Pennsylvania, they want to know that you are paid off. I have one guy called my office a few years back, and his case is, it's hard to listen to, but basically, he got involved with the wrong people at the wrong time and played a very minor role in some kind of long-term theft ring where the people he was associated with somehow were taking goods off of the back of a truck, let's say, something of that
Sure.
nature. And
Fell
over
off the truck,
time,
yeah.
over time, the restitution ended up being like $75,000 or $100,000. So now you
Oh,
got this
wow.
poor guy who's going to be paying on his restitution for the rest of his life,
Sure.
basically, right? For over at least a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
And the board doesn't look kindly on people who have $70,000 in outstanding fines. They're gonna say, "You're forgiven. You're good to go." But I mean, this case is so nominal. I can't imagine that they're going to hesitate to pay those off. You know, when I have
Did you say the defense fund or whatever it was called was $10 they were charged?
$10. That's right. Yeah, $10.
What's
So
the
it
point of
says-
that?
Yeah. Well, they tack those on to a bunch of different things. If you ever look at a docket sheet on the UJS portal in Pennsylvania, you'll see all these different little notations for what's going where when they pay their
Okay.
costs and fines. That'll be interesting to pull that up sometime.
Yeah.
Oh, what's funny is there was this thing circulating in Pennsylvania right around when the mask mandate started. I forget exactly what it said, but it said that wearing a mask while carrying a firearm is like a Class B misdemeanor or something like that. I forget exactly what it said.
Oh, yeah.
And or a Class C felony. I forget what it said, but people were asking me about this. Look, somebody copied and pasted this law, said that it's right. This is Pennsylvania law. I said, well, I could tell you for a fact that's not a Pennsylvania law. One, because I know a thing or two about Pennsylvania gun laws, and that
It would
one
be
don't
in your
exist.
book if it was, yeah.
And second, because there's no such thing as a letter grading on an offense in Pennsylvania. There's no Class A or B or C, right? It's of the first degree, second degree, third degree, ungraded. Doesn't work like that. You don't have letter classes. So it says Missouri. It says, okay, they've got Missouri courts right here. Of course, this page isn't working. Class A misdemeanor, up to 1 year in jail, a fine not to exceed $2,000. Class B is up to 6 months in jail. Class C is up to 15 days in jail. So neither of these would trigger any federal prohibitions on the McCloskeys.
Right.
They're relatively minor offenses. Class A up to a year in jail. You know, what are you talking about? Misdemeanor of the third degree in Pennsylvania, like a M3 disorderly conduct.
Okay.
Class C up to 15 days in jail. I don't even know. Like a summary offense can give you more than 15 days in jail in Pennsylvania. So that's an extremely minor offense. A fine not to exceed $700. I mean, you can get a summary DC that is harsher than that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really a nothing offense. It's really it's
Right.
Class C Missouri, if what I'm reading is correct from courts.mo.gov. I'm no Missouri attorney, but it looks like these are really nothing offenses. You know, give us our pound of flesh and
Yeah.
get out of
exactly.
here.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to impact them. They could save the time, the expense. A lot of people make deals and enter pleas for practical considerations, you know?
Sure.
I've had a few people over the years who have said, nope, on principle, I didn't do anything wrong. We're taking this all the way. I don't care how much it costs. And obviously, I love dealing with those kinds of people because I'm in this business to go to trial. But for the most part, people have practical considerations. I want to go back to work. You know, I don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars litigating this thing.
Right.
That sort of thing. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. There's that adage, right? How much justice can you afford? It's
yeah,
true.
that's
That,
the unfortunate part. Sure.
I mean, think about how many people, if they're involved in some kind of a homicide trial, right? Whether it's a self-defense incident or even a case of mistaken identity. Let's say they came to your door tomorrow and say, you know, Philly Chris, you're under arrest for the murder of, you know, anywhere but Philly Chris.
Exactly.
And they take you in and you say, no, you got the wrong guy.
Right.
You got the wrong guy. You still got to hire an attorney to represent you in that. I mean,
Yeah, that's the thing.
how many people have $100,000 plus laying around where they can do that?
Exactly. Yeah.
I have
don't get
$100
that money
grand plus
back
of
either.
Monopoly money.
You do not get that money back. That's absolutely correct. No matter what,
Yeah.
right? what
That's
happens
right.
when you
Yeah,
win?
it's crazy.
We were talking about that with Russ not too long ago. You win, right? Nobody wins.
Yeah.
Nobody wins court.
Nobody
no
wins.
winning.
When you lost $100,000, you were sick to your stomach for a few years. You lost all this weight, years off your life. You got
Right.
divorced because you and your wife were fighting all the time.
Not to mention the
Right.
time involved. The court
Time
system is
involved,
not
Sure.
speedy.
Sure.
You lost your career, right? You lost your
Mhm,
job
mhm.
because they fired you. And
Yeah.
you're never going to be able to go into a place and apply for a job when they won't recognize you from the news or the newspaper.
Right.
So yeah, people don't win in these situations. So
Hmm.
you end up with whoever you're appointed, or it's just the way it goes.
It's crazy.
And that's why one of the reasons why I'm really glad to be a part of a program like U.S. Law Shield, because if you're involved in that kind of a situation, you have to defend yourself. You don't want to either ruin your life, go broke paying for it, have to put your house up for the sale, put the strain on your family, or end up with an attorney that you would not have chosen, right? So those are really your options if, God forbid, you're involved in one of these cases. And I love having the pleasure of working with people whose lives are on the line and helping them get their lives back, and knowing that they're protected by the organization, and knowing that I'm working with other like-minded, well-versed criminal defense firearms attorneys, and that we've got so many of these members around the country. We're pushing on 700,000 members nationwide. We're up at we're right around 13,000 in Pennsylvania. Just to put that into perspective, we had 200 when I first started working with U.S. Law Shield. Think about that. Think about how many
200?
people have come on board. Yeah, we had 200 when I first started working with
Wow.
U.S. Law Shield in Pennsylvania. You got
Oh wow.
right around
That's
13,000 now. So
Yeah.
people recognize. I'm always glad when people recognize the need, because far too often I get calls from people who say, I saw you at a seminar, I had this incident, I didn't sign up. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
I feel bad for you, but I don't know what to tell you. It's not going to be
Feel like-
$11 a month if you're not a member.
It's gonna be $500 an hour now, unfortunately. Yeah.
It's a shame.
Roughly, right?
It's a
Yeah.
shame. I can't
Crazy.
stand. What did you say?
I said then it's gonna be like $500 an hour instead,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah. It's not cheap. It's not cheap.
No. Gunlawseminar.com.
Gunlawseminar.com. It would be good to have some listeners come on out to one of the gun law
Yeah.
seminars. We've got one coming up on Saturday over at the Sportsman's Shop. So if you can pop on there, I got to see if it's even sold out. It may very well be sold out. They've been
Yeah, a lot of
filling-
them are sold out. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been filling up very quickly lately, which is strange because usually during the summer things slow down a little bit, and you might have a little bit more room. Not this year. People realize what's going on in this country. Let's see.
Yeah.
I have a question for
Crazy.
Chris.
Yes.
Do you plan to
Go,
turn
Russ.
your video back on?
I guess at this point, probably not, unless I could see if that other stuff uploaded, but I think it's not done for some reason.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, here's
Want me
what
to
I'm
try
going
it?
to tell our listeners. I'm going to tell our listeners that if you want to show up on Saturday, the 19th, to the Sportsman's Shop in East Earl, Pennsylvania, starts at 10:30 a.m. We're doing New Gun Owner 101, which is a good course whether you've owned firearms for a few weeks or several years. Everybody always leaves telling me they learned something new. Frankly, a lot of times I end up with cases. It's people who have owned firearms for a long time and thought they knew everything, didn't see certain things. So feel free to show up even if you've owned guns for a long time. 10:30 a.m. at the Sportsman's Shop in East Earl on Saturday the 19th. And it is sold out right now. However, I'm going to play a little game. If you want to show up even though it's sold out, you come in and use the code word zucchini. You will get in for free.
Zucchini.
I
there
will,
you
I will
go.
ensure that you are let in for free if you show up and say zucchini at the table.
Zucchini.
Okay?
Now you're talking.
Must say zucchini.
Gotta get Russ
though.
to one,
Can't
too.
be-
Be
can't
sure
be
and tell
anything
him
else.
Mike
Can't
G
just say,
sent
"Oh,
you."
I heard about it on the program." You can't
Right.
just say Mike G sent me. You got to come to the table and say zucchini. So
Grab a pen, write it down. Zucchini,
write it down.
ladies and
Write down
gentlemen.
zucchini. Saturday the
Zucchini.
19th.
Oh,
Saturday
now
the
what was that
19th.
word? Was it cucumber?
Zucchini.
Was it
Cucumber
squash?
is incorrect. Turn around. You're out of here. We will not
If
let
you say
in.
cucumber, you got to pay double. Yeah.
Cucumber pays double. Zucchini gets in free.
There you
Saturday the
go.
19th. Tomorrow, if you're listening over the airwaves, if you're watching us during the live stream, it is day after tomorrow. Saturday the 19th, 10:30 a.m. at the Sportsman Shop in East Earl. We've got a packed schedule. I think I've got 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Got 5 nights in a row on the calendar right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's not bad, right? Not bad.
Not bad.
So, be good to see people show up and continue to have these full classes. People come on out and learn the law. Gun law
Got that
seminar.
Russ out there too.
That's it. I was just gonna say
Mhm.
that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mhm.
I think we should do a video where we spend the day with Russ.
Oh,
Where
no,
We
not
have
this
to.
again.
He comes to the range with us. We'll get the camera crew out there.
You have your
Yeah.
own camera crew? What am I doing then?
What's that?
You have
You're
your
gonna
own
be in
camera
the
crew?
video is going to be about you. It's going to be about you
You'll
coming to the
be
range
in
with us.
front of the camera this time, Russ, not
in
behind.
front
it.
of the camera.
No, I'd rather be behind the camera.
Sorry, you don't.
We
have a
know.
choice.
That's why you're going to be in front of it.
Yeah,
Of course.
Yeah.
So you'll come out to the range with us. We'll have a range day, and then you'll come to one of my gun law seminars. You'll participate in the audience. What do you think? You don't have a choice, so I was really just asking to be nice. You're doing
Yeah,
it either way.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to
Liberty.
kidnap you. We'll kidnap
Good
you if
God.
we have to. Come up to the North Pole in our sleds,
Okay,
whatever they are, with our reindeer and all that.
Lurking Liberty, she says, "Oh my gosh, I'm dying laughing." Russ says, "You have a camera crew. What am I doing then?" Oh, good old
Miss
Liberty.
hearing
Lee.
Liberty's voice. We got to get her back
Yeah.
in with her voice there. Yeah.
Well,
So,
Mhm.
what I do want to do is, Chris,
So-
you've done me wrong, Chris.
I
You've done
did.
me
What I
wrong
do?
again.
oh,
What did I
no.
do? I'm sorry. Zucchini.
Looks like we had a message thread going that we were going to get Johnny Bruins on the program, and you didn't even.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I knew I was here for
He
something.
didn't. Did he text you? I didn't see a response back from him. I wasn't sure if he was available
Oh,
Gosh.
in that text thread.
I'm looking down at my phone now. He absolutely responded. You had one
What time
job.
did he respond? Cucumber.
Stop it!
Russ,
I
I'm going to send
apologize.
you his number. I'm going to send you his number. I need you to give him a call, and
Okay.
we'll close out with that.
Conference him in.
Let's get him. This is going to be great. And this has got to make it to the air tomorrow. I don't care what you got to do to cut it up, Russ.
You're
Cut out
gonna
all
make,
that alien
you're
nonsense.
gonna make more work for me.
Hey, that's the most important thing going on right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Yeah, a little hint.
Ugh.
Big announcement next week on the show.
Listen.
Tune in next week. Mike G in the morning.
Guns and
Yeah.
aliens.
.com. That's right.
The Guns and Aliens
Zucchinis.
show.
Zucchinis,
Yeah,
apparently.
forget guns and
aliens.
ammo. It's guns
That's
and
gonna be the name of
aliens.
the episode. More guns, more aliens, and zucchini.
Yeah, there we go. Tune in.
Why don't we just make the title of the show Zucchini?
Title of the
There we
show.
go.
Yeah. On Rumble.
I like guns, aliens,
those of
and
us just-
zucchini, though. I think it'll.
For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Zucchini.
Zucchini G in
One
the
of us
morning.
call him Bruno? Is Russ calling him?
Russ
I
is
put
calling
his
him.
number in
but
the doc. His number's in the doc, Russ.
number is
Yeah,
in the doc.
yeah,
you,
right.
You did one thing. You did something
Mhm,
right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I got half of it. At least it wasn't 0.0.
But you know that Russ's preference is always the opposite of whatever you have done. If you
That's correct.
if,
yes.
if you tell him you
Not if you
texted
did it
him the
right.
number, he'll say, "Why didn't you put it in the doc? I told you to put it in
right,
the doc."
right.
And then you
Right,
put it in the
exactly.
doc, and he's like, "Where's the number?" You're like, "I put it in the doc." He's like, "Just
Hello.
text it to me."
Is
Do we
anybody
have?
monitoring the YouTube? We have a couple of comments on the YouTube.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
do.
What's going on, Liberty? Hey, Liberty. There she is.
Hi, I have to
Back.
rest my voice. Thank you.
Yes, please do.
Okay, what do we have here? Okay,
Hello.
we've got some good questions. We have Johnny
yeah.
Bruins with us.
Yes,
How are you?
I'm good, sir.
Oh,
How are
Lordy.
you?
Welcome to the Mike G program. We'll get to you in just a second. I just want to remind our listeners about the Powerhouse lineup we've
Oh,
got
boy.
here at the Freedom Station,
Mike, I
Fox
wasn't
News
prepared for
Radio. We've got
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro bringing you the Ben Shapiro Show weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. We've got Scott Adams coming at you with the Scott Adams Show weekdays from 9 a.m. until noon. Second Amendment advocate Dana Lash coming at you weekdays from noon right until Ben Shapiro. And finally, we've got the very special Michael Knowles coming at you. Brand new program on weeknights after Ben Shapiro. So don't forget to tune in and show him some love. Mr. John Bruno, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Great show. You're probably one of the most informative guys that I listen to in respect to Second Amendment and gun laws, and your knowledge runs deep with the Federalist Papers and all that. So it is I learn a lot when I listen to you, Mike. I
Thank you
really
very
do.
much. We appreciate that. Now, you are a very well-connected guy, politically speaking, out of the Harrisburg area. I feel like it's very difficult to go anywhere with you in Harrisburg without everybody walking through the door knowing you. Is that a fair assessment, John?
Well, I've been around a long time. Yes, I've been involved in politics for 40 plus years, worked in state government and state constable, and I grew up in a small town. And, when you grow up in a small town, those people matriculate out into, different municipalities. But yeah, a lot of family. But yeah, I do know a lot of people.
And how many times did you have to run for election as a constable?
I ran actually three times for election and was appointed numerous times. So I've been a state constable now close to 32 years.
That is amazing. Well, thank you for doing so. We appreciate what you do. And want to get your take on a few things, politically speaking. We do have a race coming up where we will have a new governor fairly soon. And some people are speculating it's going to be Shapiro. I know that Barletta has thrown his hat in the ring on the Republican side. We're still awaiting who else will join in. Looks like I got an email today. Charlie Giroux, who's been on this program, is also going to be running on the Republican side. And is there anybody who gets you excited or not so much yet?
You know what? Both of those gentlemen that you mentioned are great guys. If I had a magic wand and I could, magically make them appear into the governor's office, I would. Lou Barletta has done so much for this Commonwealth as the mayor of Hazleton and as a United States congressman. But here is my concern, Mike, and it's this. Can Lou Barletta win a statewide election? Okay? There's a lot of people out there that are going to, hate me for saying this. But like I said, I think Lou, when you match up Lou with Shapiro, there's no comparison. Shapiro is horrible, all right? Horrible, all right? Lou will govern tremendously. He'll govern the way he should. He's a constitutionalist. But let's face facts. There are 600,000 more registered Democrats in the state of Pennsylvania than there is Republicans, and Lou Barletta already ran statewide and was rejected. The important thing that I think needs to happen is this. The Republican Party in the state of Pennsylvania, the state GOP, needs to go out there and find a serious contrast to Josh Shapiro. Now, who is that serious contrast? All right. I think personally, it has to be a woman. Has to be a professional woman, a woman who has, a track record of success, or a woman who has developed a mystique, someone who's going to transcend, party lines. That is what the GOP needs to do, and not only for the gubernatorial race, but also the Senate race. That's my thought.
Now, I heard that you've got a new nickname you want to bring up for certain people in the Republican Party.
Oh, yes.
Now, it's funny that you mentioned this because we had Dr. Val Fennell on the program, Pennsylvania's state-level director for Gun Owners of America, and he called them rhinos. And what else did he call them, Philly Chris? Trunkless pack.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, what did he
The reason why I don't like the name rhino is this, because a rhino is a very majestic, strong, powerful animal.
Yeah, he called them
And just like
trunkless
Russ.
pachyderms, is what he said. He said,
Right. You know what I
trunkless
call them? You know what? When I think of guys like Pat Toomey or Tom Rich, I
Oh,
call them.
Can't talk too
I
bad
call
about Tom Ridge. I heard he had a stroke today. So
them-
we
Did he?
can't-
Oh, really?
I
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh
we will-
man. Well, I'm
Well,
sorry if he did.
yeah,
But here's what. But here's what I don't call them rhinos. I call them farts.
Did you say
Farts. Farts.
You say farts?
Fake ass Republican turncoats.
I really hope this catches on. If any one of our listeners, we got to give a prize for any of our listeners who promote that, right? They push that out there and get that
Right.
catches on.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? You ought to trademark that, John. I think
Fake
you gotta-
ass Republican
yeah.
turncoat. That's what they are. when you say rhino, I love rhinos. Don't you remember the
Yeah.
rhino who used to fight Spider-Man? He was big. He was majestic. Don't call them rhino. Pat Toomey's a fart. Tom Ridge is a fart.
It's an insult to rhinos, really. Yeah.
It really is an insult to rhinos. You
yeah.
know what I mean? It really is. But when I say that, you know what I mean? And here's the problem. We're in such tumultuous times when we have, when you look at the liberals, and when you look at the media, what comes to mind is this: lies and hypocrisy. That's what it's been for the last 4 or 5. That's what it's been since Barack Obama came into office. Lies and hypocrisy.
Mm.
And when you have someone like Tom Ridge, okay, who benefited for years and years and years from Republican support as a congressman, as a governor, and when he turns and says publicly, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden, what does that tell you?
Right.
That's a big middle finger to every Republican in the state of Pennsylvania.
Sounds like a fake ass Republican turncoat to me, no?
That's what it sounds like. Precisely. Oh my God.
We got the sound effects there.
Fantastic.
Oh. Hey Russ, was that
Well,
you?
Well, a great radio
No.
show, Mike Jeremita. And I tell you, keep up the good work, because we need more guys like you fighting the good fight.
We definitely want to have you back on this program to give us your insight on politics. You've been around in Pennsylvania for such a long time. You've got a perspective on this stuff that not a lot of other people do. And I talk to a lot of people in Pennsylvania. I mean that.
I appreciate that. Yep. Okay, and I will do that. It'll be a pleasure and an honor to come back.
Thank you, Johnny Bruins.
You
Take
betcha.
care.
Take care. God bless.
For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with the Fart Gang.
The zucchini matters.
with the Zucchini Matters. All right, I'm probably going to do the real one, right? For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with the Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. We've got Rita, who is writing in on the chat over here, along with CB. Been a very active communication over here. Rita, we hope that you are doing well and hope to see you soon. CB said right over here, if you want, what did he say? You guys should use StreamYard and have viewers join the panel. Now, this program began, I know it looks like you're new to the program, CB, but we began as a call-in show that took place live on Friday mornings, and people would call into the station, and it would just be one after the other after the other. We'd very rarely have some kind of a special guest. It was more just regular people talking. And then, of course, COVID hit, and particularly with Al, God rest his soul, owner of the station, had some very serious lung problems. There was no opportunity to keep the station up and running the way it had been. So we started doing work remotely. The format of the show kind of changed, but what didn't change is the listeners are always welcome on the program. The way we go about it is a little bit different. You have to go to MikeGinthemorning.com, write in, tell us you want to be on the program, and we will get you on. We will get you on. So if you do want to join the program, if you do want to come on, then go ahead. We've got instant feedback over here. Yes, I'm new to the channel. So certainly, if you want to come on the program, simply write in at MikeGinthemorning.com, get us your information, and we will get you on the show. We've had people come on the program and talk about all sorts of different topics. Everybody from Second Amendment enthusiasts to people who want to talk about aliens like Philly Chris. We had people come in, talk about the YouTube chat, talk about the Holocaust. We had people write in, so there's all sorts of different things that we
good
need.
stuff.
I came across some new information today that I didn't previously know, as far as the YouTube stuff goes. Apparently, now I heard this when I was watching some Steven Crowder on his YouTube channel. Apparently, YouTube regards live events higher than posted videos, I guess. And B, I don't think they mark those as like conspiracy or COVID thing. Because the thing is, okay, when we did the live coverage of the debate and the vote night, okay, they didn't mark that as any kind of, they didn't have that BS tag at the bottom that says, "Oh, this is a controversial thing." It's usually blue, and it used to point to CDC and Wikipedia. But they didn't take that down, but they took down subsequent things that we said regarding the words that you can't say on the YouTubes. Actually, I guess I can say it because it is live. They took it down regarding any. They didn't take it down regarding any voter fraud type things, and they did take down anything that we would say, except for that one where we royally made fun of them. I think it was obvious that it was a parody, and we were just trying to confuse the bot, and I'm pretty sure they just overrode it once they, because there's got to be something that notifies them, hey, this thing contains these words. Oh my goodness.
Right.
And so somebody probably reviews it before it even gets a strike. And so yeah, they apparently, if something is live, then it's not going to be pegged as, some kind of conspiracy theory or breaking the rules of any kind. This is just based on information I heard. I don't actually know. Nobody actually knows how the YouTube algorithm
the problem
works.
Is that the issue is that we had thousands of those postcards, promotional postcards made up. And we're passing them out, and they had the QR code to the self-updating playlist. So obviously, when YouTube started giving us a hard time, suspending us, taking us down, giving us strikes, that put a little bit of a wrench in things.
Yeah.
So when you scan the QR code, it goes nowhere. So
yeah,
we got a bunch of these little stickers made up that are QR codes to the Rumble page. And Philly Chris and I got together this weekend and put about 2,000 stickers on postcards.
Yes.
He's actually really good at it. He does it very quickly. I'd say that I'm a little more precise than he is. Meaning, make sure that I cover up the entire old one. I'm very much a perfectionist, but he's blows me out of the water. As far as speed goes, he blows me out of the water. I can't compete.
Had a little system going there.
Yeah, it's nonstop. It was like a machine.
Wow. Well, anyway, if
leveraging my Six Sigma skills.
So for the new people that are evidently in the chat, I would say go to the Rumble page either by using Mike G in the morning.
I'd say MikeGinthemorning.com.
I mean, you could just go straight to the Rumble page.
You can go to MikeGinthemorning.com.
Okay, Mike. Okay. Don't have a canary.
All right, group hug, everybody. We need a group hug.
Well, let's just see.
You can go to MikeGinthemorning.com and then click on the Rumble thing
right?
if you miss
you
a
can
program.
go to rumble.com/C/C-7968117, or you could just go to MikeGinthemorning.com, right?
And then click on Rumble and then bookmark the page.
Which one's easy? Yeah, make sure you go ahead and subscribe, bookmark the page.
Yes.
Do whatever you got to do to watch the program.
Yeah.
You know what else I did notice? Somebody wrote in earlier today, and I will basically pass this along to everybody because I think it's important. He had been subscribed to the program and wasn't getting notifications. Apparently, subscription in and of itself doesn't really mean anything anymore. You have to also click that bell.
Yeah.
It said subscribe, and then the bell had a line through it. He was like, I don't know what's going on here. I said, you got to go ahead and click that bell so that way you get the notifications. So if you are following us through YouTube, as censored as we already are, and you are subscribed, make sure you click that bell to make sure all the notifications are turned on. Otherwise, it won't send you anything, and there's really no point of being subscribed. Is there a point to being subscribed?
There actually is none because I was also subscribed. So as I ran the WFYL channel, I subscribed with my own personal YouTube account to see which ones went through. Not all of them, turns out. And I don't know if Rumble is any better with notifying. I certainly get notified anytime one of our videos is monetized. Then it'll show up in an email. But as far as the Rumble app, unless I'm doing something wrong, I haven't gotten any notifications from the Rumble app. I might have something turned off on my phone regarding that, so it might just be a technical error on my end. But I've never gotten a notification from Rumble. I've gotten very few notifications from YouTube. The notifications I have gotten regarding Rumble have all been through email. After the video has been monetized, then it shows up. So
if you could give us a little more detail on that, Russ, that'd be great.
Well, okay. So being subscribed on YouTube doesn't mean anything.
He was kidding. Come on, man.
Well, it doesn't mean anything. That's why they added the bell, because people were being like, "Oh, subscribe to my channel, I'll subscribe to yours," and neither one of them give a crap about the other's channel.
Oh.
So like,
get out of
yeah.
Get out of town.
Zucchini.
Zucchini.
Yeah. Get out of Zucchini.
Man, is there anything else for the good of the order?
I don't know. What about those videos that Chris frantically tried to send, but has been taking a good
you don't have them.
almost 2 hours.
We'll save them for next time.
Yeah, all right.
Big announcement next show.
Okay, Chris, can you do me a favor? Send Russ a video and make sure Johnny Bruins knows what time he's supposed to be on.
Okay.
He's like, I actually, out of those 2 things you gave me to do, I did none of them.
It was interfering with my nap time.
Yeah.
But I did show up by telephone because I couldn't even appear by computer.
Yeah, everything fell apart this week. Everything. I apologize.
Thank you, Philly Chris, for taking the time and effort to show up by telephone a minute before the program started. I know I ask way too much of you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'll do better next week, I promise.
When are we having that Ancient Aliens watch party?
Hey, soon.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. I also want to watch that Bob Grant video because I think it would be a lot of fun. Right, Chris? Don't you agree that those conversations they were having, it feels like it could be today. Like people of
Yeah,
today would have the
absolutely.
same arguments on either side. It's just that
Yeah, it's
our
very similar.
liberals not getting it. That's what it is, right?
Pretty much. History repeating itself once again.
You know
Yeah,
why
we always
history
think it's
repeats
new, though,
itself?
right? We always think it's new.
That's right. That's right.
You guys know why history repeats itself?
Well, because people forget it.
Well, no, because nobody listens the first time.
Yeah, well, that could be part of it too, Russ.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm.
Yeah, and that's why they have those problems, right?
Yep.
Yep,
Can't wait to be
exactly.
enslaved by
Here,
aliens.
we've got a comment over here. It says, even if you click the bell sometimes, depending on the content, YouTube censors it.
Yeah, that's also
Yeah.
true.
Notification. Best to post in your community. Give viewers the heads up. Well, there you go. And just keep it going
Yeah.
on the. So Rita says, I watched you on YouTube and subscribed a while ago. I haven't been notified and forgot to watch last week. You forgot to watch last week.
Full of mustard award.
Well,
There we go.
it's a good thing that you didn't watch, Rita, because we were talking about how if you don't come on the program within the next few weeks, you will be awarded the Mustard Award. You will be eligible for the
That's
Mustard
right.
Award. We're talking about, we mentioned you specifically because you've been such an active participant on all of our social media, faithful listener, audience member, part of the Mike G in the Morning family. And we want to make sure we get everybody on the program. We haven't had you on the program, so please reach out and let us know when we can have you on. Otherwise, you shall be eligible for the Mustard Award.
There we go. There we go. Love it.
Unless
Alright.
Chris eats all the mustard.
Russ,
That's
do you
right.
have any public service announcements before we go?
Yeah, I got one. If you get a call from oh god, what did they say they were from? It was another scam call that I got. I got it twice today. The second time they realized who they were calling and hung up.
There you go.
But they
So,
were
we had a
calling.
scam call to the office, and my paralegal answered, and they wanted both times it was somebody who had a ridiculous name and wanted to talk to me and me only. Which, you know, we have how many people call our office every single day? It just doesn't work like that. You got to get on the calendar, schedule an appointment. Otherwise, I'd sit there and just talk to people all day. So,
Sure.
and how many times am I in court and stuff like that? So, first time they called, they said their name was Benedict Arnold. And the second
great.
time it was like, it was Don Carlo, I think it was. Like, who's gonna call him that? Like Hulk Hogan? Like, what are these
Yeah,
people?
George Washington,
People
you
are
know, Abraham
overseas,
Lincoln.
just like typing in, like trying to Google things to find a random
Yeah.
American name. Rita has a spaceship
Apparently.
story. Rita says she has a spaceship story. How great is that?
Really?
We're gonna have to get
Oh,
her
yeah?
on the program next week. Rita,
It's
you're
a
coming on.
spaceship,
Coming
Buzz.
on next week.
Whether you like it or not, you're coming on next week, which will be June, what, 24th?
Something like that.
June 24th, Rita. You're coming on the program to tell your spaceship story.
I want to hear this. I'm excited
Yeah.
now.
This
Very
is
excited.
awesome. I
That's
think all of
exciting.
our listeners are going to hear this too.
Yeah.
And we get
Yeah, I
special
think
guest
so.
Rita coming
Yeah.
on to tell her spaceship story.
I can't wait.
Going back to my PSA though, which you guys kind of railroaded over. So,
No, not
Yeah. So I got a call from this guy claiming to be from the Social Security Administration and something
Oh, that was me,
something.
Russ.
Yeah, okay. And it's always oh, we found your Social Security number in this car in Texas and there were drugs, and it's like no. Okay, that's not how that works.
You were
Mike,
in Texas a few weeks ago.
no, I wasn't. Mike, can somebody sue you based on your Social Security number?
They can sue you for any reason,
Mike,
right,
that's a
Mike?
question.
What's that?
Well,
Can someone sue you based on your Social Security number?
I don't even know what the question is.
So when I get these calls,
You're asking, if you were sued, would your social be in court filings?
I have no idea what I'm asking, to be perfectly honest. I
What are you
get
talking
I
about
get
right
this
now, Rob?
call.
What the?
Well,
What
I
the
get
heck is
I
that
get
right
these
off
calls saying that, files are being charged against your social security number. And I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure that's not how that
nonsense.
works.
Yeah, no, it's not how it works. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, particularly in Pennsylvania, if you're going to file something that has somebody's social in it, you have to file it as a confidential document. So either it'll be redacted and the public can't see it, or you'll just say SSN1, right? Which stands for Social Security Number 1.
Right.
And then whoever is party to the case or counsel will have a confidential document that's sort of like a cheat sheet and decodes whatever it is. So SSN1 would be the number, and you'd only have that if you were a part of the action.
Okay, my next question is, so going back to their scenario, which they allege
First of all,
happened,
they never call you on the phone. That's never how it works.
No,
So just first of all,
I know it's a scam, Mike. I'm not an idiot. I told them this last time that they called, I pretended like I was on a
Jerry
radio
still
show. I said, "Hey, welcome to Dan Smith in the morning. You're on the air."
Just kidding.
He's getting after you, Russ. He's
Yeah.
getting on
Well,
you.
they called the Skype number. I don't even know how they got that. Like, they called the Skype number. And I'm like, what are you?
Yeah, they'll call
What is
anything. They
this?
just randomly
Remember
call.
that time when we were in the station, Russ?
Yeah.
We were having fun, and it was late, and we had been recording commercials and everything.
Yeah.
And one of the Bag of Bees type commercials. And Philly, Chris, and I are getting ready to leave. It's probably like 11 o'clock at
where this
night
is
at that
going.
point. And you said, "Hey, you guys want to watch this 3-hour long video of me making scammers?"
This is just like that.
Yeah.
You remember that, Russ?
Yeah.
I remember.
So, why
I
don't you give
remember.
our listeners like a 2-sentence version of that? Don't narrate the whole 3 hours, but
Okay, so I set up a virtual machine, and these people called me, and they always want to
That's
get
two
on,
sentences.
and they always want to get, shut up, Chris, and they always want to get onto your computer for some reason, and somehow they always end up being like, "Oh, you have a virus or something," and so I put them on this horribly slow virtual machine that was running off an old, really slow USB stick. Everything took like 10 minutes to load. And they're like,
so there was nothing that they could get access that would harm you, or
no, there was no
anything-
danger because it was in a virtual machine. They tried to,
Gotcha.
they did something called syskey, which has since been removed from Windows, which is basically, it's a password before you enter your password. It's an extra security measure. And yeah, they tried to set that, but you can roll back a virtual machine real easily.
Gotcha.
And yeah, they didn't like
But you had them sitting there wasting their time.
well, I had them sitting there wasting their time, but I created this so you can create an internet shortcut on your desktop and then give it whatever name you want. So I put I made it say like bank info as the name, and it led to a Wikipedia page about scams.
No, that is great.
That's
How
right.
excited
That is
do you
pretty
think
good.
they
Russ.
were when they saw bank info?
Yeah.
It should have been a YouTube link to the Rick Roll song.
Oh man, if only that virtual machine wasn't so awfully slow.
That would have been pretty good, right?
Yeah. But I had all kinds of documents like that. Like I had some what was it? I forget what it was. It was something I had some folder with like music in it. It was like labeled like pirated music and like all kinds of stupid stuff. There was a folder with nudes in it, not actual ones, but like it contained memes. It contained memes like the troll face.
That's funny.
So like, and the thing is, they tried to transfer everything. I called them out on it, and then they were like, "Ah ha ha ha, we're just kidding."
Well, what you need to do, Russ, is you need to go through it and make like a 5-minute version of it where you just get the highlights, not the 3-hour version. You know?
Well, that wasn't 3 hours, nor was it 2 sentences. I'm sorry, I failed you.
That's correct. Maybe the video wasn't 3 hours, and your synopsis certainly was not 2 sentences. That was good. That was a good job, though. You did a good job
Oh,
keeping it
thanks.
concise there.
Well,
But what
ladies
you
and
got to do
gentlemen,
is
that's
you
about
just
all the
fill it
time
in.
we have.
Well, hang on. I got one more question for Mike regarding the legal process. Okay.
Oh, no.
So
Here we go.
their scenario always goes, your social security number somehow was found in a Toyota Corolla, a 1980 something Toyota Corolla in Texas in the desert, and we're filing charges, blah, 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 blah. Is that something they can even do? If they find your social security number in some random car,
No.
you know,
How would they even know that they're going to prove that it was you who wrote down your social security number somewhere in
I'm not a
Texas?
lawyer, and I'm going
Okay.
to go with no.
well, it's just it calls into question these legal processes that they're just I already knew they're full of crap, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
none of what they say is actually how any of it works.
Yeah,
I've gotten that same call, and I've gotten that same call. It's just one of their tasks.
Wow, you know what? It
Fortunately,
makes
we're
it,
doing a special program under Biden where you can get out of it without any criminal liability. If you
That's
pay us
right. That's right.
$500 in Walmart gift cards.
yeah.
Yeah. The funny
Yeah.
thing is, though, when they're calling people, it's actually my car. That is my Toyota, and they're calling me.
Oh, the funny thing is,
I got to talk to you off the air about that.
when they call me, so the one time back when I was trying to record those videos, they called me, they said, oh yeah, something Toyota Corolla and drugs and your social security number. I'm like, yeah, that's mine, leave it alone. And like they didn't know what to say at all.
Funny.
Sure.
I'm like, yeah, leave them alone. I'll be there to
but
pick it up
just
tomorrow.
Leave it there. Stop. Don't tow it.
Yeah.
I was coming back to get it.
Yeah. I'm
Right.
coming back to
I
get it
know.
tomorrow. Leave it alone. Those are mine.
Leave it alone. I know it was there.
Don't you know who I am?
It's funny. Ridiculous stuff. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Let's wrap this one up. What do you say, Russ?
Yeah. Thank you everybody for tolerating us.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Love our listeners.
That's all the time we've got for today. Stick around for We the People, The Constitution Matters. Pastor David Whitney, Professor Phil Duffy. I'll be joining as your legal analyst. We sure do miss you, Ellie. Daddy loves you.